Classic WoW Fresh is confirmed and it's coming. Out of nowhere today, Blizzard released an article on the WoW website talking about WoW Classic Season of Mastery, the upcoming new iteration of World of Warcraft Classic, but this time it's coming with a bunch of changes that will affect how you play Classic to an extent. From faster leveling to added quality of life changes to harder content, Blizzard talked about a whole lot of changes that are coming with this iteration of Classic WoW. And most importantly, an open beta that will start way sooner than you expected. So what does Classic WoW's Season of Mastery have in store for us, and who is it aimed for exactly? Let's find out. So, we're gonna go through this article point by point and discuss what each thing implies to your gameplay as a new or returning player to Classic WoW. And to start off, we have the increased cadence of content. So, all in all, Classic WoW lasted 1 year and 10 months in total, launching on August 27, 2019, and ending when Classic TBC released on June 1st, 2021. With that original lifespan, Blizzard was releasing about one phase of content every 4 to 5 months. Now, with Season of Mastery, Blizzard said that they are planning for a 12-month lifespan, with phases of content releasing roughly every couple months. That should make for a very unique experience. As you may know, Classic WoW was infamous for being just way too easy and way too quickly solved for a lot of players. Molten Core was cleared by most serious players in the first couple months of the game launch, and the following days didn't last a day for most dedicated guilds, meaning people who were invested into Classic had nothing to do for months on end. With this new faster cadence Blizzard is planning for, we should see, at least theoretically, a higher engagement rate from the players who are really invested into the game. That being said, for casuals, it might seem like this is a detriment for them, but Blizzard also talked about ways of solving that we're gonna talk about in a minute. Before we move on, I wanted to mention the similarities between this and old school RuneScape's league system. If you don't know anything about OSRS and what leagues are, basically every now and then Jagex, the developers of RuneScape, release what's called leagues. They make it so that progressing your character is significantly faster. Each league has a different set of rules and is designed to challenge players while also giving a shorter lifespan for the game. Obviously, leagues only last 6 or so weeks, whereas Classic Fresh this time will last a whole year, so you can't really compare them. But it does seem like Blizzard is aiming for that sort of faster paced, more challenging style here, and that's gonna be even more apparent the more we read through this article. But moving on, the next thing Blizzard talked about is the content release schedule. So this is basically the exact same as Classic WoW during the last couple years. There's still 6 phases of content and the phases all look quite similar. The only difference is the fact that the honor system is coming in from the start this time around. And this is a big deal, because if you remember, Classic WoW started out with basically zero reason for you to kill other players. There was no PvP honor or reward system in place at all. When Blizzard launched the PvP system in Phase 2 without battlegrounds in place, that created a huge problem throughout the game, where players who wanted to get their PvP rewards had no choice but to gank anything that moves in the open world. This means, for example, that flight paths were constantly camped by the dominating faction. Players couldn't reach raid entrances without dying 10 times in the process, let alone getting inside dungeons. Farming was pretty much gimped. Basically, Phase 2 almost killed the game, and we actually talked about that in our 10 biggest fails that Blizzard made about Classic WoW video, and it's up there with the top fails. But anyways, this content release schedule fixes that. The game is gonna launch with the PvP system and battlegrounds. And also, all the battlegrounds are coming rather than having Arathi Basin separated from the other two like it was the case in original vanilla. So that's really good news. But yeah, the game will release the exact same way, be it way faster now with just a couple months between the phases. The next thing Blizzard announced for Season of Mastery is overall harder PvE content. So, as I said earlier, Classic WoW was infamous for being incredibly easy, and even Blizzard is admitting it here. Their plan was to bring a faithful recreation of vanilla WoW, but many raid encounters turned out to be way easier than the first time around because players are simply way more experienced and prepared nowadays. So they're planning some massive changes to the PvE content to make it feel somewhat more challenging. First and foremost, probably the biggest change here is the removal of world buffs when entering raid instances. So I think you're all aware of what world buffs are, but for those who don't know, in Classic WoW, the reason why you saw raids being cleared in less than an hour from their release is mainly because of world buffs. Those are buffs obtained in the open world and inside dungeons. They make your character about 2 times stronger if you stack them all, and you would see full raid groups using these, making essentially the raids a cakewalk, among other reasons of course. Well, no more with that. Blizzard decided to remove them from raids. This implies that you'll still be able to get them of course if you want them for non-raiding content, but when it comes to raiding, they're purged. Personally, I think this is awesome news. No more going around the world for hours and logging off for days to preserve the buffs. But what do you guys think about this? Let us know in the comments. The other change for PvE content is, quote, restoring mechanics that were removed early on for some raid bosses. So, to be completely honest, I don't know of any mechanics that were removed in vanilla. That definitely happened a lot more in TBC though, like it's the case with the Lady Vash mind control. But honestly, other than Cthulhu bugging out and spawning tentacles in the walls, I can't think of anything. Definitely let us know in the comments if you know a boss ability that was removed in vanilla. Either way, if there was any, it should be put back now, making the bosses slightly more challenging, hopefully. Also, no more debuff limit. If you played Classic WoW, you're no stranger to the notion of debuff limit. Bosses, and any creatures or players in fact, could only hold 16 debuffs. If you applied more past that, they would overwrite whatever was on the boss. For this reason, guilds meticulously chose who was allowed to use what. For example, hunters were never allowed to use Serpent Sting. It did way too little damage to justify it. The same thing with a lot of Warlock debuffs. Well, now with this change, everything is on the table. If you play Shadow Priest or Boomkin or anything, you're allowed to use everything on your arsenal to give you an advantage. And that's awesome news. Obviously, allowing bosses to take more debuffs makes them easier to kill rather than harder. For this reason, Blizzard also announced that bosses will see their health increased to offset that. We don't know exactly by how much, but that should make it so that bosses will last longer. Maybe we'll even get to see Phase 2 on Ragnaros, who knows? Anyway, so that was for the raiding content, but Blizzard announced a lot more things here, and the next most interesting thing they announced was a faster leveling speed. So, they said they're planning on mimicking the duration it takes to reach 60 as if you were playing on Classic TBC. So in Classic TBC compared to Classic Vanilla, going from 1 to 60 is roughly 30% faster, but that has to do with a lot of things. First off, the XP bar is physically smaller in TBC. Starting from level 11, you'll see a 1.1% reduction in experience needed, and that will ramp up each level until level 28 where it reaches its cap of 18%. So this isn't coming with Classic Fresh. The amount of XP needed will still be the same. Also, a lot of dungeons in TBC have had the level of mobs in them narrowed down. Not the case in Classic nor in Classic Fresh. And obviously, you'll see a lot more elites in the open world in Classic than you see in TBC. That's also not changing for Fresh. What is changing is the amount of XP quests will give you. And Blizzard specifically mentioned quests here, not killing mobs or anything. And that's very important. Because in Classic WoW, there was a huge demographic of players leveling exclusively through boosting. Because mages were so efficient at AoEing mobs, boosting services were being sold for gold, and players who had gold and didn't want to bother with leveling just took advantage of that. Well, Blizzard also talked about that very shortly after this article on a blue post, and they are planning on doing, quote, something about mage boosting. What exactly that is, we don't know, but it's probably something like reducing the XP you earn if if a level 60 is in your group or something like that. But yeah, rip Joker, no more Mara boosting for you. So a lot of people are divided about this. Should the leveling in Classic be faster? Personally, I don't think a 30% faster leveling is gonna take away from the feeling of going through a journey when you level a new character. Sure, it's gonna be way easier because you don't have to do those challenging and long quests that you had to do to level, but leveling is still gonna take a considerable amount of time, and whether it takes 200 hours instead of 300 isn't gonna take away from the feeling that it is a huge endeavor to level a new character. But what do you guys think about that? Anyways, moving on, the last change Blizzard said they were bringing in fresh is a few quality of life updates. For one, they are planning on bringing summoning stones to the game. Obviously, summoning stones were not part of vanilla, and people had to physically move to each dungeon location. This meant that unless you had a warlock in your group, everyone had to move to the dungeons. Well, that's not gonna be the case anymore. Summoning stones are gonna be added to each dungeon entrance. Keep in mind, however, that this doesn't mean you'll be able to take advantage of all these summoning stones if you're higher level. You can't summon someone to Maradon at level 60, for example, or if the person you want to summon is level 60, because the Maradon stone is too low level. Then, the other and only quality of life change Blizzard mentioned is increasing the amount of mining and herbalism nodes around the world. Their reasoning for this is that servers are way larger nowadays than they were originally. So, to accommodate for the bigger demand for reagents, they will add more nodes around the world. Fair enough. Then last but not least, the big unexpected thing mentioned here is that there will be a beta for Seasons of Mastery. It will be open to everyone, and it's coming on October 5th. That's right, that's 4 days from the moment of posting this video. To talk about my experience here, I probably had more fun during the beta and the stress test for Classic WoW than I ever had during the actual live game. The metas that appeared at level 40, the insane amount of players during stress tests, the GM events that took place, it was just so fun. I understand that's probably not gonna be the case this time around, but part of me wishes to see that again. But yeah, get ready for the beta on October 5th. So who is Classic WoW Season of Mastery aimed for exactly? Based on these changes that Blizzard brought here, I would say that this iteration of Classic is aimed more so for an audience that already did Classic WoW's content or that quit midway through because they didn't like how easy everything was. And I definitely know a lot of people that were on that boat. So hopefully this should hit two birds with one stone. Bring back the players who quit while giving a new life to Classic for people who want to re-experience it. That being said, if you're just a casual that isn't looking for a challenge, I would still give Fresh a shot. Although I think Classic TBC is way more fit for you if you're looking for a more relaxed experience, because this will only last 1 year, whereas your TBC character will be moving to Wrath of the Lich King eventually. And that pretty much sums up everything about Seasons of Mastery, the new iteration of Classic WoW, and what a lot of players have been craving for since TBC was announced. I think some of these changes mentioned here are really good, especially the no world buffs change, or the removed debuff limit for instance. And I definitely see some similarities here between what Blizzard is doing here with the faster cadence and what OSRS leagues do. But what do you guys think about these changes? Do you like what Blizzard is going for here? Will you play Fresh when it releases, or are you just gonna continue playing TBC? Let us know in the comments. With that, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, remember to give it a like and subscribe to the Classic WoW Curios channel for more content like this. I will see you guys in the next one very soon. Bye for now.